Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Bob. Happy Friday.
Welcome back to our Top 5 Friday ski industry news videos. Now it feels weird that I am holding the topics, but let's see if I still remember how to play host.
I think you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've done like 198 episodes hosting, so what's one more?
I'll just sit here and chime in.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
It's so
great.
fun. Yeah. I really enjoy being like the color commentary. So pretty good week for news, I'd say. And just a couple little housekeeping things before we get to that. We've been talking a lot about price drops on 2025 gear lately. And we had another round of price drops this week. I believe it happened on Monday, but it's amazing how things blend together at the end of a work week. But anyways, that price drop covered K2, Vocal, Line, Marker, Dalbello, and I might be forgetting one, but those are the big five. There's actually some skis next to us because we were going back and forth about doing a bargain basement video this week. Decided to wait until next week. We'll have that out on Tuesday. No, we are not waiting for April Fool's Day. That happens to just be, we'll get to include a few more brands. It's going to open things up a little bit.
I didn't look at the calendar, but that could be a little bit fun at least.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll allow us to say things like, this is no April Fool's joke.
Right.
The
Real classy stuff.
the classic April Fool's marketing. And in reference to other content, we kind of got back into our normal routine this week, Bob, after we had the ski test week. So that was nice. I think last week I said something like I was looking forward to getting back to a normal routine. Early in the week, we talked about the Liberty Scopes. We've been skiing 94 and 99, respectively. And I think both are pleased with the improvements that they've made to those skis.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was a really fun one because honestly, we've been waiting to talk about this ski for a while. We did the Revolt 101 review a couple days ago. I snapped my fingers and turned myself into matte. That was fun.
Movie magic.
Always one of the most satisfying things I get to edit,
Yep.
even though it's very simple and probably doesn't actually look that cool.
Oh, it
but
looks
it's
great.
It's really fun for me. And then yesterday we put out just a short little 3-minute video from our actual ski test. We were skiing on the Nordica Doberman Multipista DC, which is a very, very cool new ski. Kind of takes Enforcer tip and then puts it into a Doberman, and it's slightly wider than you would normally see from a Doberman. So I had a lot of fun on that. And we filmed 10-ish of those kind of short little behind-the-scenes ski test videos that we'll keep sharing. I've already got another one just edited and ready to go for the QST94, so we'll get that one out next week. And yeah, I'm excited to share those, and they were fun to do.
Yeah, and just, very direct snow to camera impressions. You know, it's that's about as direct as it gets.
Yeah, totally. And then, like I said, next week we'll have a bargain basement video. We will also have another review, TBD, on what that is. I'm not sure. We've been working on a bunch of different stuff, so kind of just a matter of what falls into place. Have another ski test teaser, and then I head to Colorado for a little bit. So I'll miss Top 5 Fridays next week, but hoping I can share some fun stuff from Colorado.
Probably be able to do that. There's a lot of fun stuff out there.
In Colorado?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be at Copper. So if you're going to be at Copper between April 5th and 10th, look for me. I'll be in a black GMA jacket.
Just like everybody else.
Like everybody else. I'll look like a coach. Do I have sunglasses on my head? I do. Whatever. You want to talk about the news?
Sure.
All right. So, World Cup Finals wrapped up yesterday, right? Yeah, slalom was yesterday. And what a finals it was. I really enjoyed watching all the races that I was able to watch. As we often do, we'll start on the women's side. Unfortunately, downhill was canceled. It was kind of bummer. I was really looking forward to seeing a Sun Valley downhill.
I know I'm somewhat ignorant and kind of a dummy, but why don't they just move it I'm sure they have a window they have to deal with.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just surprised that in World Cup Finals,
They'd cancel
they
it.
just cancel it.
Yeah, and I don't, forgive me because I don't remember who the athlete was, but they were talking a lot on the broadcast about how a particular athlete was just kind of like emotionally devastated because she didn't get that
Yeah.
last race, and I think she finished second overall.
Like, I understand
Again,
not
forgive
running
me
it
for not remembering
like
details.
that day for safety purposes and stuff
Right.
like that.
But postpone
I'm
it.
surprised they. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Again,
they just have a window.
I just don't. I don't know enough about it.
Moving on, we did get a Super G race, so almost got to see a Sun Valley downhill, and it was very, very entertaining to watch. Couple highlights depending on what you care more about. Lindsey Vonn was second, picked up a silver medal at World Cup Finals,
Yeah.
which is very cool. Kind of
Yeah.
like a really nice kind of culmination to this first stage in her comeback arc.
Probably some good affirmation for her as well.
Totally.
Like
Totally.
all the doubters
Yep.
along the way and
Yep.
saying, "This isn't smart.
Yep.
This, that, and the other thing," and
Again,
pretty close to the top.
forgive me if I get this wrong, but I believe it was her first World Cup podium in 7 years.
That's crazy.
Isn't
From
that
like,
crazy?
From her early 30s.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That is
like when you
wild.
think about it that way. Congratulations to Lindsey Vonn. Matt, our esteemed colleague Matt, did not include this in the written article, and I understand that we often focus on the U.S. athletes and that's it, but we have to talk about Lara Gut-Barami because her Super G run was, in no exaggeration, it was some of the best skiing I've ever watched in my entire life. Like, she looked like just drastically different than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, probably Lindsey Vonn is the only one that like looked like she was the same tier of skier, but the way that Lara Gut, like, she just danced down a Super G course.
Right.
Nothing looked hard. Like, she never looked like she was fighting a turn. Maybe like literally one turn looked hard for her, and the rest just looked effortless.
Yeah.
And there was this like kind of like double fall line, blind corner. You like come over a roller and have to set up for a big left footer. And she did this like kind of weird, like, I'm sure it wasn't planned, but just instinctually did this kind of like right foot, left foot, like it almost looked like something a park skier would do.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was watching it with my wife and I was just like, that was insane. So shout out to Lara Gut-Barami. She also won by over a second,
Yeah.
which is like crazy in a speed event.
Yeah.
Like people were stacked up and then she was just like way faster. Or maybe she was in the lead by over a second. I can't remember if she beat Lindsay by over a second, but still incredible skiing and congratulations to her. On the giant slalom side, again, speaking to the U.S., we had AJ Hurt in 8th, Nina O'Brien in 12th, Lauren Masuga in 15th, and then again, like Lara Gut-Barami just came away and just basically crushed everybody and took the win in that too. So amazing to see. And then slalom yesterday, I actually had the second runs on my phone while I was sitting at my desk here at work. And congratulations to Michaela. She's had a roller coaster of a season she started just on fire, winning everything. And everyone was like, well, yeah, she's going to get 100 wins like tomorrow.
Right.
And then she got hurt, and then it took a while. And I feel like she really was back to form. And if anything, like the skiing, Lara Gut's Super G run and Michaela's slalom run, they just looked like fundamentally different than everybody else. And I think that's so cool to see.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for when your tech pieces, your gear, your training, your coaching, your preparation, when all that comes together.
It just looked incredible.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah. And then just a big shout out to Frederica. We haven't talked about her in any of the individual results, but she had a fantastic season, winning the overall. She was winning the overall Globe. She also won the downhill. She also won giant slalom overall, and she was just second in Super G behind Lara Gut-Barami. Also, again, forgive me if I get this wrong, but I believe Lara Gut-Barami became the first the first World Cup racer to win 10 times in 3 different disciplines or something like that. She has some sort of record now, and I don't remember exactly what it is. So, great end of the season for all the ladies. And then on the men's side, just looking at the U.S. finishes here, in Super G, we had Ryan Cochran-Siegel in 13th. Giant Slalom, we had River Radamus in 15th. Slalom, we had Ben Ritchie picking up a top 10 with a 7th. And then, we kind of have to talk about, if we're going to talk about Lara Gut and Frederica, we got to talk about Marco Odermatt, because he just ran away with the overall. Also was the overall winner for Giant Slalom, downhill, and Super G. So he's got a bear hug all his globes.
That's a pretty dominant ski season.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then looking at the U.S. top finishers for overall, shout out to Ryan Cochran-Siegel, who was 28th in overall World Cup results, and Paula Moltzen was 12th. So just a great season for both of those athletes. And that's it. I wish I had gotten to watch every race, but I got to watch a lot of it, and it was very entertaining.
Yeah, and that's it for FIS results,
Yep.
right?
We'll have to find something else to talk about, Bob. In our second topic of the week, we also had the Freeride World Tour Finals in Verbier. I mentioned this last week because I was like, I don't understand why we're not talking about this now, because technically it happened before last Friday, but turns out my instincts were right that Matt was waiting to put it in here.
Gotcha.
Tough conditions. I watched the men's. I watched part of the women's, but tough conditions, ton of crashes. People were really going for it. Wayton Ho took the win. I believe that was his first win ever. I should have written that down. And then Marcus Goguen just had an incredible season. He picked up 4th in this event, which clinched him the overall win. I kind of think everybody just assumed that he was going to win the overall, but it's still tough. The pressure's on, and you got to put a run down, and like half the field fell. So
yeah, I was watching a replay of the Georgia one, and it's like, man, anything can happen.
Totally,
anything can happen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Kick a shoe.
Yeah.
And then shout out to a couple U.S. athletes. Ross Tester was in 2nd, and Toby Rafford was 3rd in that final Verbier event. And then, like I said, Marcus with the overall win. Martine Bender was 2nd overall, and Toby Rafford picked up a 3rd. So congratulations to those athletes. And then on the women's side, for Verbier finishes, we had Jenna Keller in 1st, Justine Dufour-Lapointe in 2nd, and then Lena Kohler in 3rd. And then overall finishes, congratulations to Justine for the overall win, Jenna for a 2nd, and then Astrid Chalus.
That's a tough one.
Astrid is a really cool name, though.
Yeah.
Apologies for butchering your last name. Hopefully,
But
at
the
least
first
I got
name's
Astrid
cool.
right.
Makes up for it.
So yeah, it could have been a better finish to the Freeride World Tour season. Could have had slightly better conditions, but it was still very entertaining to watch. And if anything, it should be challenging.
Right. Yeah. They have that window to work with, and it seems like they do a good job of
making it as good as they
happen.
can. Yep. And then just a couple of quick things here, both kind of like ski tourism related. This is mostly coming from Mountain Trade Network. They're reporting on ski holidays potentially becoming unaffordable in the UK, which, Bob, you pointed out, you had an interesting kind of comment that your perception of Europe skiing has always been that it's more affordable.
Well, that's what people tell me. It's not like I have a perception. I have other people commenting in saying, I can't believe y'all spend $275 on a day ticket to Stowe or whatever it is.
I can get on a train.
I can go to Europe and ski for 50 euro. I don't know. I just always hear that people are commenting on how inexpensive skiing in Europe is.
Yeah.
And I also have a hard time because Europe's a big place. There's many different when you say Europe, are you talking about the Swiss Alps? Are you talking about Norway? Are you talking about Spain? There's lots of different aspects. So
Well, Bob,
what I don't understand
here we're
is,
talking about the United Kingdom.
right, but it's so close. Like if you kind
Yeah.
of look, it's so close. Like you could go to Norway, you could go to
Yeah.
Germany, you could go to Italy. Like it doesn't seem like there's a lack of places to go that are relatively close.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic. Like, they've got to get on a plane or a boat, right?
Yeah, I don't think they can drive.
I don't know. So it is like, it's just interesting. Like, yeah, proximity, it's close, but it's
Yeah.
like it's also an island, and they
Yeah.
don't have any ski areas.
Right, you got to
So
travel.
like, you could kind of like make both arguments, and I would believe you. Of like, it's easy for them to go skiing because it's right over there,
Right.
or it's hard for them to go skiing because there's no snow. And if somebody presented both those arguments, I would be like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it seem like there's an easy plane from London to Annecy, and then hop on a ski train, and you're at Chamonix in a few minutes?
I would think so.
I don't know. I've never been there. I don't know.
Anyways, do you want some stats?
Sure.
So this season, Bob, 40% of self-proclaimed UK skiers didn't expect to ski this winter. That number was up from 40% the previous winter. So that's like perception of whether you will be able to go skiing. And I don't know the previous number, but 70% of people that were polled said they believe ski vacations are becoming unaffordable. And this article, like the theme, kind of pointed to changes in climate,
Yeah.
changes in snowfall, and just general accessibility.
And the dollar too. It's like
Yeah.
the pound is
Yeah,
not as strong from what
Yeah.
I was reading.
yeah. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say about it.
I just would have thought that from a vacation standpoint, it would be fairly easy
Yeah.
from the UK. But
Clearly,
know.
we need to do more primary research on this topic.
well, like I pointed out to you the other day, you get 5 days at Verbier
On your
for
Epic
an Epic
Pass.
Pass.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so Bob and I are going to go to Verbier next year.
but only for 5 days.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd be tired after 5 days.
Probably.
And then last topic of the week, this one's similar. We've got kind of an article about Japan ski tourism. I thought this was again, like a couple stats here. I think everybody knows that ski tourism in Japan is pretty big. A lot of people, it's like, kind of like the fantasy land. Like, I want to go ski Japan.
Right.
Like when you hear people talking about Japan, like their eyes light up. International visitors are growing by a 50% rate year over year.
That was nuts. Like that's
Yeah, that's crazy.
staggering growth.
Yeah. This also, like, I guess if you had asked me to guess, I would have guessed something close to this, or at least over 50%. But international guests make up 90% of the revenue for Japanese ski areas.
Well, I remember on one of our previous topics talking about Japan that they were saying that very few, like Japanese people will will go to the resorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
It's interesting.
well, or more accurately, I guess that the international tourism dwarfs
Yeah.
the locals.
I mean, that's
I
what it
guess.
sounds like. That's
Yeah.
what these numbers point to, for sure. Now, obviously, numbers like that are important to Japanese ski economy.
Right.
Like, the industry is kind of propped up by international visitors, but it's a balancing act, and there's, without going into details, there's some pushback on growth and development, with kind of the fear that it's creating more of a price barrier to entry, more of an elitist thing that's totally catered to wealthy international guests. And, there was some reference of like the progression of ski areas here in the United States. And
Right.
that's kind of happening. Obviously, it's vastly different because you could flip those numbers around. Like, domestic guests, I'm sure, make up 90% of the revenue of U.S. ski areas.
Right.
At least, would be my guess. But pretty interesting.
Yeah, and just the accessibility too, to get from Tokyo to some large destination resort
Yeah.
is a 2.5 hour train ride.
Yeah.
Like you're from, and there's what, 25, 30 million people in Tokyo.
Right.
You'd think that
More people would.
would hop on that train and go, but it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Yeah, and like, geographically, it's not a huge place.
It's pretty big.
Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like the United States.
Right.
And like when you talk about like the amount of ski areas and stuff, and like my mind goes to the idea that, I mean, you could say this about anywhere, but it's a finite resource.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like one of those things where eventually it'll be a bubble that eventually has to burst in some way.
Yeah.
So time will tell. That's it for news topics. Finally, we have our edits of the week. First up, we've got Season 3, Episode 4 from Michaela Schifrin, her Moving Right Along series. And then we've got a look into natural selection preparations from Craig Murray. Looking forward to this. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I think soon. And then this one was really, really cool. Our mission of the year, skiing the impossible bottleneck, which just looked, I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but it looked gnarly.
Sounds scary.
Impossible.
Yeah. I wouldn't attempt that.
I wouldn't, yeah, I don't do impossible things on skis, that's for sure. And that's it for this week's Top 5 Fridays. Like I said, I'll be traveling for next Friday, but I think Matt and Bob can hold down the fort. Got some new bindings to play with. I just took them out of the box.
That's right. Yeah.
We can share that next week. I might go mount them. What time is it?
It's mountain time.
I got time. I might have some time to mount some skis. We'll
Yeah.
see. So that's it for me. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.